Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle, and today we have with us Pia Silva, who is an entrepreneur, speaker, and author. Pia, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Mike. Great to be here.
Hey, give us a little bit of background on your entrepreneurial journey. What led you into the world of entrepreneurism? I had a guest on recently that said, well, I started off with my dad being an entrepreneur and me vowing I would never be an entrepreneur, and here, look at me now. So it's just really interesting to hear people's stories. So give us a little background of yours.
That's a good way to frame it. I don't know if I ever thought of myself as an entrepreneur as a child, but I definitely knew I didn't want to work for anyone. In high school, when people asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I just said, in charge of whatever it is that I'm doing. So that was really the driving force behind it. And then about 6 years ago, my then fiance, now husband, and I, we decided to take the plunge. He was a graphic designer, and I basically saw that as a creative person, he didn't know a lot about business and charging and management. And I said, you know, you're very talented. I could make a lot of money off of you, honey. I'm going to build a business around your talents. And that's how it all started in our little apartment in Brooklyn.
Awesome. That's really, and it's really interesting how, like the story of, one person doing all they can do alone and another person doing all they can do alone is nowhere near the amplification of two people doing it together. Is that what you found as well?
Absolutely. And I think I was really looking for that inspiration because I always wanted to create something, but it's very difficult to have both sides of the brain working like that.
Yeah.
And I've always been a numbers person, and I've always been a project builder. So, he was my perfect project, and it worked out really nicely. So I lucked out.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's, I know I found this with myself, and so I'll describe a scenario and see if you've seen this with your clients or yourself as well, where you go, I just can't wrap my head around, this thing, this need that you have, this, creative idea that you need. Get me started. And the person then starts going, well, we really are looking for X, Y, Z, and you're like, oh, got it. You had mentioned before you had done this, and now you have this need. What if we went this direction? And so in other words, it's like you got this blank piece of paper or this blank screen in front of you, you can't get started, but as soon as someone gives you one little glimmer of a hint at what they need, you're off to the races because it's like, got it. Now I'm zeroing in.
I love that. I mean, I think that that's the experience I give a lot of my clients because we tend to attract people who are amazing at what they do and don't necessarily know how to turn it into a brand and a profitable business. So, the first step of our process is a brand shrink where we interview them in depth about their business. And I'm just listening to everything that they've been doing and what they love and what they're successful at. And then at the end, I go, oh, here you go. This is what your business needs to be. And you need to stop doing that. And you just start doing this. And you need to say it like this. And it's like the clouds part for them. They're like, oh, that's so clear. And I tell them it should be clear. A great brand should be very concise and simple and clear. It needs to be easy to understand. So it's very easy for me, obviously I do this a lot, but also from the outside to look at all the creative stuff that's going on and say, your brand is right here, your business is right here. But I know from the inside it can feel much more overwhelming and complicated.
Well, it's like the old saying, you can't see the forest for the trees. And I think that sometimes you probably have worked with marketing agencies before that said, we do this for a living, and oh my goodness, you just shed the light on us, and that's so amazing. So I think sometimes you're too close to your own self, and you're myopic with what you do, that you need that outside perspective. And then at that point, it's almost like you're running alongside with the bike, and the training wheels are off, and then it's like, I got it, and you let go, and you're like, good, you're on your way.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had honestly, we attract tons of marketers, branders, graphic designers, people in our space for that exact reason. And I have a lot of fans in our space, and they always go, I just can't do it for myself.
Yeah,
so
it's crazy.
Absolutely.
So what is the difference between a good business and a good brand?
Good question. Difference. I think they're very, very connected. Our company focuses on branding 1 to 3 person service businesses. So from my perspective, that's the space the world that I live in, people who are selling their expertise for very high prices, in a very, usually very targeted and niche market. So to me, the business and the brand are very interconnected. I can't build someone's brand if they don't have a solid business. You can have a solid business without a solid brand, but I think a solid brand without a solid business is actually kind of a screen. What's it called?
Smoke screen?
Smoke screen, exactly.
Yeah.
Because you need to be able to back that up you need to back up your brand promise, and that comes from having a really solid business. So I actually tend to do a lot of business consulting in the branding exercise, because if that's what the business needs to succeed, then that's what I'm going to give them.
Isn't it almost like someone starts their own idea and maybe it's, in their basement or whatever, and then it becomes, hey, I can make $1 or $2, so I'm going to build this into a business kind of a venture, and then it's like, we're doing okay, and this is our business. But then the branding and the rebrand, or whatever you want to think of it as, that's when it's like, okay, we're doing the operational thing. We're doing the nuts and bolts of this business, but now we want to take it to the next level and make it more of a, message, mission, message to market, cause, brand. All of that to me feels like you're taking it to the next level. You've almost got proof of concept. You got customers and clients, and it's chugging along. But as soon as you take it to the next level and make it a brand and brand messaging, now you're really cooking with grease.
I completely agree. And, I see branding as an integral part, obviously, of marketing. I think people think that they're very separate, but to me, if you don't do the branding part first and do it well, you're going to waste a lot of marketing dollars. And marketing, of course, is a critical part of having a successful business. How will people know what you're selling if you don't market it and make sure people hear about it? But if you market a business without a brand, what are you going to say? And how are you going to say it? And are you going to say it, probably, if you don't have a brand, like everybody else is saying it? And so why are they going to listen to you? So you end up kind of spending a lot of money on different marketing channels, and then you feel like they don't work. Well, every marketing channel can work if you do it correctly, and you really need a great brand behind that message. So it's they're 3 spokes of a very important wheel, I think.
Yeah, that's huge, and it made me think of like the old shiny object syndrome, where too many businesses and entrepreneurs, they see the dreaded Facebook, sponsored ad that, this guy made $1 trillion, and they're like, ooh, I'm going to do that. And they do it for 2 seconds. It didn't work, and they're like, that didn't work. Well, the problem is, A, you didn't give it enough chance to work. You didn't really, delve in and make sure that every single piece of it was, your brand messaging, all of that. But the other aspect is that shiny object syndrome, that next thing just looks so tempting. So, what we all need to do is, the old work on your business and not in your business, and go, ooh, this looks like a good thing. I'm going to put that into next quarter after I get done with this thing I'm focusing on. So how do you help clients stay focused on what they need to that's right in front of them so that they get the most out of it?
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought up Facebook ads, because I also spent a long time learning Facebook ads, and it was a hard climb to learn it, but I stayed committed to it and eventually ended up making a lot of money. So that's a great example. One of the biggest things that I preach is about being a specialist and owning your niche, and how can you put yourself in a category of one, so that when you're competing, quote, against your competitors, there's something about you that there is a decision to be made. It's not, these all look the same, I'll go with the cheapest. It's, well, these people over here are doing something specific. So either I want it or I don't. They're not always going to want it. But the point is, I have a way to assess. So one of the things that I often do with clients is really help them hone in on a specific process that they deliver. I'm often helping clients, again, in the 1 to 3 person service business, productize their services, and create some sort of process for a very specific niche that they can repeat over and over again, and they can become more and more proficient at, continue to build their skills skills continue to become more proficient and then continue to increase their prices. And to me, that's a great way to build a very profitable small business that gives you a lot of freedom in your life, because the more profit you can get from every client, the less time you need to spend working.
And if someone hears that, I think that they'll it's kind of like, have you ever heard of the old Milton Friedman? He's an old economist, but he was like, the chief aim of business is to make as much profit as you can. And people go, oh, no. And guess what? It really is, because if you don't make a profit, your business has gone under, and now you don't have your employees, you don't have the impact you make. So what you just said there was, getting, higher dollar volume. It really sounds like it would be, ooh, that's just greedy. But when you think about it, if you as an entrepreneur are able to up your own game mentally, mindset, and branding so that you can command and feel that the value is there in your services to get those fees, don't you find that your clients have that mental shift that I'm actually serving my clients better when I do charge higher, because I'm 1,000% more focused, and I can take the projects that I want when I want. I can turn some projects away. I can space things out, and I'm really going deeper and serving my clients better, and they're getting the full value, if not more.
Absolutely. And I have to tell you, I was an economics major, so this stuff is in my blood, looking for profit. And that's exactly it. And not just that you have more time to service your clients properly, but you have more time in general to work on your business and to work on your skills and to sleep. I mean, you can't service clients well when you're overworked and underpaid, when you're stressed out, when you are working for clients, but you're looking for more clients all the time. To have that kind of abundance is actually putting you in a very good position to deliver your highest value. And I think that if people spend more time focusing on that. I'm constantly trying to learn new things and get better at what I do, because I know it will serve my clients better and it will ultimately make my business more profitable. So it's a win-win. I think it's a much nicer focus for any small business owner.
So if an entrepreneur is hearing this so far and they're thinking, well, maybe there is a difference between what I'm doing in my business now and what I could be doing if I upped my game / improved my branding. What are some things in a business that would be telltale signs or triggers or, opportunities where they could go, if this is happening in your business, you might be, ready for, a branding conversation. What are some things to look for?
Okay, well, an obvious one is you're not getting paid what you're worth. Or you have some clients that pay you well, but other clients that don't. You are working overtime and feel like you're giving, and your clients don't necessarily appreciate the value that you're giving them. I think that's a really good time, because it means that you're not communicating your value right. I'm assuming, of course, that you are delivering value, right? We're kind of assuming that the business owners we're talking about are genuinely trying to provide a very valuable service. But if you feel like you are and you don't feel appreciated for it, you feel like everyone's trying to bargain with you, you feel like you're trying to take anything you can get because you need sales, all of those are really good signs that you need to step back, look at your business, and think about how you're communicating your brand. Are you communicating that you are about something specific for someone specific? Are you communicating that you really are an expert at something? Do you have something to build a reputation on? Because I think of branding. Branding is really your reputation. Does your reputation precede you? If somebody likes what you do, is it easy for them to tell somebody else about you? Or is it like, they're a great guy, you should call them? Like, that's a horrible referral. Oh, I think they're great, you should really call them. Why are they great? You have to give people the message and the verbiage so that they can, regurgitate it to other people. And that's through branding and marketing messaging.
Yeah, and I think that what you said is profound, and it's even more critical today given one thing. We're so distracted. We've got instant message this, text that, Snapchat this, right? So all of a sudden, it used to be back in the day, hey, if you hear someone that needs blah, 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 let me know. And they're like, sure will. And they'll actually make an introduction and a referral for you. Well, these days, people are so busy that they mean well, but they're not going to do it until you, A, keep in touch well, and B, train them / teach them and model how you would like to be introduced, and I think that's, she's a great gal, give her a call. What? But if you were to say, hey, you know what, when you're talking to someone that mentions da-da-da-da-da, make sure that you tell them about me, and here's an easy way to mention it. Here's what we do, or here, just give them like a one-liner. So have you found that when you are upping the brand for a client that it becomes easier for them to then tell their prospects how to make a referral because now their brand messaging, from the logo to the messaging to everything about it, kind of comes into focus for them?
Oh, of course. I mean, that is the ultimate goal. And it's not necessarily, hey, this is how you can refer me. It's simply, this is what I do, and you become referable. I say a great, a badass brand is one that's noticeable, memorable, and shareable. So it has to be something that disrupts thought, it's noticeable, something that sticks in your head so that when the right opportunity comes up, the person immediately thinks of you, and then shareable. They have an easy way to explain what you do to somebody else. And I'll give you a quick example, because we had a hard time in the beginning, graphic design. We were trying to build an agency. We were doing what everybody was doing, and we didn't know how to differentiate ourselves. And we made a very big pivot about 3 years into our business to what we do today, which is we design entire brands in 1 to 3 day intensives. So we have a very specific market, 1 to 3 person service businesses, and we build entire brands from the strategy, the messaging, the copy, the website design and build, the logo, the materials, in 1 to 3 day intensives. And you better believe, as soon as we changed that to something so specific and bizarre, people, at the beginning, people didn't even believe that was possible. All of a sudden, all these people that I had known for years who liked me and never gave me referrals were sending me people out of the woodwork because, I can understand that, and that's really clear. And for the right people, it's like, you got to call these people. They'll do this for you in a 1 to 3 day intensive, and they're great. That's a different kind of referral.
I love that, and I found that in myself as well, my business, that when you do it for someone, it becomes this light bulb moment, because you could do a 3-day intensive of teaching them the strategy of how to do that and give them the workbooks and the checklist and go, okay, go on and do it, and it ain't going to get done. But when you say that you transform a brand and do it in a 1 to 3 day intensive, they feel like, I'm going to walk away with, it's going to be done. It's not going to be a 6-month process. I'm not going to be up pulling up all-nighters, doing all these things, and worrying that I'm doing it the right way. They're doing it for me, with me, at this event, in, out, done, and I think that's spectacular.
Oh, thank you so much. It was definitely born out of what I saw as a need. And for myself, too, where is this? This is what people really need. They don't need to spend 6 months working on a website. The enthusiasm is lost after 6 months for on all sides, So we really built this process out of our desire to have that exist in the world, and it worked out very nicely.
Excellent. So let's kind of wrap up with what are some final thoughts that you have, and what is some good ways to reach out and connect with you if people are interested in improving and optimizing their brand.
Sure. I guess I'll just leave the audience with one idea. If you're kind of struggling to find well-paying clients, or you don't quite know where to start, I would really look back at your previous clients and find your favorite ones, and think about building a business around them as a focus or a niche. That's where I like to start. What's your favorite thing to do? And I have a list. So the first step of our process is something called the brand shrink, and it's this deep dive, and I actually put it online for the Influential Entrepreneur listeners to, if you want to download my list. It's a long list of questions, but I promise you it'll really force you to dig deep into your business and figure out where your profit and your excitement really lies. So I put that on badassyourbrand.com/influential if you want to grab that. And if you go and download that, you'll also get the first chapter of my book, Badass Your Brand,
awesome.
where I kind of talk about how we went from this same agency and in debt to doing these brand ups, these 1 to 3 day intensives, and how it transformed our business. And we made like $500,000 in the first 12 months. And I share that in the first chapter. So I hope you guys enjoy that.
That sounds incredible. Thanks so much for coming on, and I love to get to know you, your brand, your methodology, and I think that's awesome. So thank you, Pia.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Mike.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.